Hey friends, welcome to the Life on Purpose podcast, where we share about our life and our journey as a millennial couple navigating life.
Yeah. So we've been wanting to do this podcast for a long time.
Yeah.
And we just didn't know how to start and come up with a lot of reasons not to. And, you just got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Like, I feel like there were so many doors that were open yet like closed at the same time. It just felt so difficult to get started. And it's like, we're finally here. It's like the door is wide open. We can walk right through it. And I'm really excited.
Yeah, it just reminds me of like starting anything. Like you want to make sure everything is right, but it's not going to be right. You're just going to have to go for it, and you get better along the way. So we just thank everyone for their patience. I mean, I was just looking at like, hey, I need to get this lights and microphones and cameras and all of this stuff. And then, really it's this reminds me of like business. Like you don't need everything. Just work with what you have. And, as you grow, you can just improve.
Yeah. It's like, just start, right? Like just start with what you have, because like that, like thinking of what you don't have can delay like everything further and further. Right. So why do we decide to start this podcast, and like, why now? I think like, what we said earlier was just, timing. A lot of it is timing, and just the, like the mental energy to say, okay, yes, lots of prayer, lots of late night talks went into this. Like we've had this dream for like 5 years, maybe even longer.
Well, I think why do a podcast? Like it's really just our way of communicating with people. We love getting together for coffee or eating and just getting update to life. But I know that, we can get busy, others can get busy. And, it gives people a chance to kind of peek in at their own convenience, to just kind of check in a little bit deeper than just like what's on Instagram or Facebook. If it's a topic that people like, they can listen to it. If it's not, they can just scroll on by. And we just hope that there's like little nuggets there that people would like.
Yeah, I think also too, like I think about this as a way to connect with our friends and family who don't live, in our state. Like we don't have that luxury of just going to coffee, like we have friends and family all over the world, all over, the United States. And, I wish we could have coffee and go and have lunch dates with every single one of those people. But yeah, having this is, it's a way to tell our story and share, just life.
Yeah. I think, when we used to travel, we used to get to meet with people, frequently, one-on-one. And now that we don't do that anymore, we wanted to figure out a way that's more than just, scheduling Zoom calls.
Yeah, sure. And like when Holland says we used to travel a lot, like we were gone like mostly every month, almost every single, we were somewhere almost every single month out of the year, each year. And although it was fun, it did take a toll. And, I think looking at it, our physical health, mental health, and we'll definitely be diving into more of that, in later episodes. But, just looking forward to being able to connect again with people without having to necessarily travel because we have to, and more so because we want to. And this is one of those ways that we get to kind of do that.
Yeah, it was when you're going through it, you don't realize how much of a toll it takes on you and the grind it has. I'm sure people on the outside looked at us and they're like, whoa, what are you
Like
doing?
so crazy.
I mean, we'll go in more detail in the future, but just to let people know, like we would have a pair of shoes and clothes in 3 different places. So we live in Las Vegas. We would have a set in Hawaii. We would have a set in Japan, and we would have a set in the Philippines. And I truly believe that, you know, having that pause kind of gave us time to reflect and just to bring balance back into our life. And that pause that we've experienced is what everybody experienced was, 2020 when the world shut down and we converted to online and Zoom, and we were trying to figure like, hey, how long is this going to be? Maybe we'll go on the road again. And, months pass by and years pass by, and you're like, whoa, maybe we should really consider. And staying at home is like, wow, what is this feeling? And I remember the first time we started going on the plane again, it was like exhausting. Just that one trip. And I was like, we used to do this all the time. And going back, and I said, hey, we promote health and wellness. That's part of our lifestyle. And we preach about health and wellness. So let's make those adjustments for our health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it's funny because Holland mentions like we had, shoes and clothes in different places. And we were born and raised in Hawaii on Oahu. And so, that's kind of like another longer story, but just something fun maybe that you guys might want to know about is that, people, like there are decisions to move, right? For different reasons and whatever it is, but something to know about us is like we really do invite God into everything that we do. And he is the center of, our life and our business and whatever we're doing. And so, just funny story. What moved us to Las Vegas was that one day Holland we received it, we knew our lease, was coming up. And that day that we received the lease, it was just like something just stirred in Holland. And it was just like, we got to move. Like we got to go somewhere and we got to go out of state. And that broke my heart. And so fast forward, it was like, oh my gosh, okay, like what are we going to do? Like just that day, then we decided, okay, Las Vegas, still has Hawaii connections. We can still fly home on a direct flight. We have that luxury to go back and forth. And that's what brought us here. And so it did make, some of that traveling a little bit easier. Being kind of in the middle of, where we were building our business, where we were meeting up with our colleagues and our friends. And so that's like always the biggest question. It's just like, why did you move? But yeah, that's just a little fun story, and we'll go more into that.
Yeah, going back to why we moved, I mean, we can come up with a list of reasons to justify why we moved. And reflecting and looking back, everything has led us to this point. And you just kind of see God's hand in that you might not understand at that time. And for us, it's like, really, God, there's something. There's something. And even today, we're still learning.
Like why we're here.
Well, yeah.
Like, yeah.
Our purpose and why we're here. And it's beautiful if you don't really think about it, knowing that, hey, there are bigger plans that we don't understand. And, especially God, God knows everything.
Yeah.
So.
And it's just like saying yes out of the obedience, right, to God, even though we don't understand why or how or when, but it really is that faith piece that you just have to say yes to. And it's like, it all works out.
Yeah. Well, our plans, we have our own plans, and sometimes it just doesn't go out the way we think it's going to go out. And so for us, I think our plan was like, we're going to move to Las Vegas. We're going to build our business here. We're near to California. We'll go back and forth to California. We'll go, you know, it's easier to fly from Las Vegas to the East Coast than from Hawaii. And we were going to build, and we were actually doing a little bit of that. Then came our expansion to Asia. We're like, hey, you know, there's new markets opening up. We're going to go to Philippines. We're going to go to Singapore. We're going to go to Japan, and wherever it kind of grows from there. And that's kind of the nature of our business. If somebody referred somebody that had potential to build a business, that's where we're going to kind of just start up groups and business, and taking that pause. It really just shifted.
Yeah. So now we're circling back to why we're doing this podcast, right? And I just think that as, you know, a millennial couple, like this is something that we get to do together. You know, this is something that we're building together because it's our life. And we're pretty much with each other like 24/7. And, you know, people wonder, like, how do you do that? Like, you know, doesn't it make you crazy? Like, you know, like, what is it? Like, how can you do this together? And that's part of the things that I think we want to share as well, is that, you know, everybody's life looks different, and this is just ours. And it wasn't our intention to be like this, I think. It just worked out that way. And, you know, we get to live life and do life how we want, through what God wants for us and the purpose and plans that he has for our life. And so it's a little bit different, you know, it's a little bit scary. You know, part of starting something is just trusting that it's going to work.
Yes. And
it's really hard for me to think, but what if it doesn't?
Yeah.
And there's so much noise and so much just like, you know, thoughts that, okay, what if? But I think that this is fun. Like, this is something, you know, like we have these talks like 2:00 in the morning while we're lying in bed, you know, before we go to sleep. And it's like, it's just fun. It makes you think, it makes you reflect. And, you know, we gain so much insight about ourselves, even in those moments too.
Yes.
Right.
So while podcasting might be a way to communicate with others, it's actually therapeutic for us. It's good for our mental health.
Yeah.
And it gets us into a routine, because sometimes it's like, sometimes we talk to each other, and sometimes we spend days where we just do our own thing.
Yeah.
But if we have this time to actually talk and just kind of let people in on it, we can, it's something that we enjoy doing. And that's what I love about being self-employed, being your own boss, is that you can choose and turn your passion into purpose.
Right.
And we talked about this, like even in the last couple of years, I've had conversations like, hey, should I pursue another career? Should I get a job? How do I get that spark? And when I prayed, God just shared with me, I feel that, you know, we are so blessed with the business we already have, that to take care of what God's blessed you with. And that's with anything that you have in life, you know. Just take care of what you have, you know. And ultimately it came down to like, hey, I do feel like this is our calling. We will have to make changes, and this is what we prayed about. We prayed about a life where we don't have to hustle and grind, right?
Yeah.
We always talk about time freedom, and we've experienced that. But moving forward, how do we teach people, and how do we share how we have that work-life balance? And that's really leveraging off like technology. which is scary because we never, even though we're millennials, we've never built our business that way. Our mentors never built that business that way. Our colleagues, in fact, there was a lot of people that were like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Why don't you just go back?
It was so old school that we became old school, and
Old souls.
Yeah. It's kind of like we missed out.
And I had to take a pause, you know, like we were going, like I remember this because I was like, it was 2021. I said, hey, time out. Let's take a pause, you know, and just go focus on our mental health.
Yeah, ourselves. Yeah.
And but when I started like, hey, let's go get back in. Let's go do a class at our house and invite some people because that's how we do it. Or let's go when we go back to Hawaii, we're gonna schedule these classes on and on and on. And we're like, man, this takes a lot of work. A few people show up and it's like, man, this is a grind. I enjoy doing it, but if I want others to be like, is there another way?
Yeah.
And we started exploring different options. I remember going, a stranger invited me. She had free tickets to this seminar that cost a lot of money, where people in our profession were using internet marketing to build their business and content creation. Yeah. And that's a dream. It's like everybody just wants to go on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram.
They want the easy thing.
Yeah. It's kind of like being an influencer, but not really. But, you kind of want to do that. But it's like, how does that translate into income? And it's out there. And, for us, it's like, we're going through that journey right now. And it reminds me when we started the journey with network marketing. It's the same thing. People are like, I don't know if that's going to work. A lot of people fail. A lot of people have their things, but we took a leap of faith. Yeah. And what I learned was that, a lot of people do fail, but you just find the people that have success, and you follow their pattern of success that they model. And you learn what to do, what not to do. It's just a learned skill. And in this season, we're doing the same thing. Yeah. We have to take that leap of faith. We're going to make mistakes, and hopefully we'll connect with people. And I've actually, when I've reached out to some people that do podcasts, and there's a lot of people that do podcasts, whether it's for their ministry, whether it's just they're just talking, they're just sharing their life. I know there's this podcast with these retired law enforcement officers, and it's like, wow, a lot of people are podcasting. This is like the modern version of like blogging. And people like video, people like audio. So
what can people expect to gain from our podcast?
I know, I have to focus because I want to talk about anything and everything, but I just want people to learn, a little bit about how we incorporate faith in our lives, in our marriage, in our relationships. That's number one. Yeah. I feel like before I wasn't so open. I was guarded, right? I didn't want to offend people. Right. I was like, how is this going to affect my business? Yeah. But I realized that it's such a huge part of my life. I cannot talk about faith. And I realized when I censored myself, it really took away part of my joy. And, just being able to be yourself, authentic self. And that's part of our authentic self, is sharing about faith. And maybe people out there are feeling the same way. Another thing that we want to talk about is wellness. I know that's part of our business. That's part of our journey. And we do it a little bit different. So maybe Cassie can share a little bit about that.
I love how people take you through what they personally do daily and how they're incorporating their product into their life and, just living it out. This is more than just I want to sell you on something. It's more of the, like, why do I have glowing skin? Or why, does my hair look like this? Like, people actually use what they purchase, and it's like, I just want to share like what we do, daily, authentically.
Yeah, just a way that you can do it organically and naturally.
Yeah. I just want to show people that, hey, we're real life. Like, sometimes I use this, sometimes I don't. Like,
yeah, we don't have to be that perfect. Like, oh my gosh, that person is like the ideal. Like, hey, we want to share from like a friend's point of view. Like you are our brother, you are our sister. Like, you will know everything in and out. You know that we like some things and we don't like some things, and that's okay, because we're not here to sell it how some companies say, like, hey, you work for us, this is what you say, this is your script. Like, hey, no, this is what we use. And
I think just, I guess to summarize this entire podcast is it's giving our point of view through faith, business, marriage, daily activities in life. Just, what do you see about me and what do I see about you, and us coming together, just giving people a lens into what makes us happy, and, through the trials and, the ups and downs of life, just to show like we're real people too, and I'm praying and hoping that someone who sees this, I'm praying that it would impact someone, even if it's just one person. If we can just make an impact that way, then, I'm happy.
Yeah. There are a couple of other things we'll probably talk about. My passion is business and lifestyle freedom, time freedom. It's one of those things, like, people don't like talking about money.
Yeah.
But I do think it's very important. Like, the more we open up, especially for family, or if you have kids, then people can learn. We can all learn from each other. And we live a very unconventional life. Right. We're at home most of the time. We have time freedom, but also we want to give people insight that most people don't. We're in network marketing, and we get it. There is a stigma. There is that stereotype of people like on stage, promoting get rich quick. And, we want to be real. Like, hey, it's not like that. We are real. We do have success. And there are a lot of questions that I feel like a lot of people, they want to ask, but they're afraid to ask. Yeah. And we're just going to address them, out of the blue. We have nothing to hide. We'll share our ups, our downs, and really, why we are so passionate about it, and going back. And if there's somebody that is like on the fence or just going through that, like, just having that encouragement, like, it's a lifestyle that people don't understand, because it's, when there are downs, it does get scary, where it's like you feel like, hey, where does your security come from? And what's interesting about that is our security comes from the Lord. Right. That's faith plays a big role on that. And it reminds us of our why, what we prioritize. And so
I think it's like finding your community too, because even though we have our faith, and that's like the number one thing that we are, standing upon, when things are good, when things are bad, but having that community that celebrates with you, that, fights for you, that kind of like, they know what it's like to also go through, the challenges that you're going through, or they're just there to encourage you so that you don't stay down for too long. That it's, just having people that are, they're able to pick you up and help you rise to overcome that as well. We're not meant to do life alone. And so having God and having that community, also helps.
Going with community I think one of the things that is kind of like, it's not business, it's not wellness. It's really, we love talking about culture. It's like, why do we love talking about culture, where we come from? Both Cassie and I are from Hawaii. But I think we notice more when we moved to Las Vegas. It's like, how do you hold on to your identity while adapting to somewhere new? And, you know, everybody that has moved experiences this. You know, if you're an immigrant, right? My mother and my mother's family are immigrants. If you are moving to another state, you know, even, and I know here in Las Vegas, we have a lot of people that come from other countries, come from other states. And really, like, yeah, the conversations is like, hey, this is who we are, this is our culture, and it's okay to celebrate it, you know, and we connect in that way. Like, hey, these are the foods I like. These are things back home. And it's not even about connecting. I love learning about not only people, I love connecting with people that we have a shared culture, but I love learning about people with different cultures. Like, whoa, what kind of food is this?
Or like you get to, like, it's reciprocal. Like you share, like they share about, you know, their culture. We get to share about our culture. And it's like, it's a nice celebration of just respect and getting to understand where we each come from. Yeah.
And that, I think that ties into why we love traveling.
Yeah.
I think traveling for us is more than just the place and sightseeing. It really was about the people and the culture. And, you know, now that we're going to stay at home more, you don't have to travel. You can connect with people online and learn about culture. And then you can also just experience some things here locally. Like if you have something like, hey, there is a new Thai restaurant or something, you know, and also the conversations. I'm always learning about people's values, how they grew up, how it shaped them. And that's probably those are most of the topics. And when we sum it all up, really it comes down to intentional living. And so intentional living is just like balancing all of that, prioritizing what to say yes to, what to say no to, but not in a rigid way. We still have the flexibility where it's like, hey, you know what? We don't have it all together, but we try to be intentional as much as we can.
Yeah, totally. And I don't know, it's just a beautiful thing that I'm excited to share with everyone. You know, I don't know, just excited.
Well, our time is up right now. So I guess what is our next episode? We will be talking about our journey from Hawaii to Las Vegas more in detail.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.